On this week's show, discussing Autodesk University with Allison Scott from Autodesk. In this week's news, Gen Z, Global Project Awards, Investopedia, and more. All right, so I have a special episode. I feel like I got 2 stars today because if you were watching anything on Autodesk University, the one, the only Ariel Castillo was all over the place, kicking it, having a good time. Ariel, man, thanks for jumping in and hosting with me this morning.
Thank you, Jeff, for the invitation. I'm super excited to be back with the crew.
You were busier than I've seen ever, but also, you know, if y'all don't know Ariel, that smile comes by that naturally, and it was ear to ear at AU. How was that experience, man?
Man, it was awesome. I can tell you that it's been the craziest experience that I have had at a conference. It was basically from day one when I got the badge all the way till I said, goodbye to AU, and those, almost start crying about happiness and how exciting and looking forward to next year. But definitely, having a crew that was capturing every single moment, all the way from attending the keynotes, going into classes, presenting, interacting with people, and also, all the parties and activities that you can socialize at. It was awesome. And I think it was, the goal of being able to share that experience with the people that cannot attend, and hopefully they'll go next year.
Well, you come by that naturally, and there's a long history of this that you may or may not know, but I did that on purpose to have a little fun here because our guest, Allison Scott, and I met in just that fashion.
That's right.
We were internet friends, Twitter friends back when it was the Twitter thing.
Yeah, the early days of Twitter.
like super early, and in the sea of people ran into each other. I would say Allison is one of the folks that came ahead of you in making these kinds of experiences happen. And now she's on the big stage. So
yeah.
Allison, say hello to everybody. It's just so awesome to have the two of you sit down, but especially you, Allison. It's been a long run and it's been a fun run.
Thanks, Jeff. I know it's really good to see you. It was really great running into you on the floor at AU, finally just getting a chance to catch up quickly, even though our schedules have always been so tough these days. But just having that moment with you on the floor was awesome, catching up. And then seeing Ariel kind of managing all of these amazing experiences and representing what's happening for the next generation of construction leaders coming up in this space, and talking about all the amazing, exciting things that were happening on the floor, but also with other classes and at the forums. It was just so wonderful to see that represented this year, and really amazing work, Ariel, this year. Thank you for showing your championship for digital construction and all this work that we're doing together. And yeah, so it's awesome to be here, Jeff. It's great to catch up and have a chance to talk about what we've been up to.
We are going to dive deep into all of that. You guys know this is going to be a fun one. But before we do, we got to pause for the cause.
Everyone supports a culture of well-being in the field and is equipped with the tools to help prevent suicide in construction. Procore Safety Qualified courses were built in partnership with our customers, elevating enhancements to their standard OSHA training. And the Bringing the Right Mindset series equips individuals and leaders alike with the skills necessary to really build resilient teams. We've made these 3 courses available for free and on demand, and they're offered both in English as well as Spanish, and they are CEU certifiable. Procore.com/certified-qualified is where we host our Procore's Learning Portal, and anyone can use their Procore credentials or create a free account to get started.
Hey, remember, we're back on YouTube. Check out youtube.com/@the ConTech crew. Make sure to subscribe. Those shorts are doing really well. They're really interesting. You never know when you're going to get a little nugget of wisdom out there, like my good boy Rob McKinney used to say. And Rob, thanks for that subscribe. Who'd have thought I'd have to thank a crew guy for subscribing? But hey, everybody forgets once in a while. So smash that subscribe button. At the ConTech crew, we focus on technology that solves industry problems. So today, I want to talk to you about Join. Every construction project is a unique prototype. And it's actually shaped by thousands of decisions that impact the owner's business case, design, and the budget. Today, the communication driving these decisions is disjointed across all the stakeholders. Work happens in email, Excel, estimating, resulting in delays, waiting for decisions, waiting for access to information, and sometimes that information is outdated and incomplete. Managing the expectations of the team and keeping the project moving forward is a constant challenge, and a lot of times drives skepticism amongst the contributors. Join empowers general contractors to build with confidence and maximize the potential of every project by connecting these owners through new workflows that fit into your existing processes. We bring design teams and trade partners into a single platform. There's transparency and collaboration in the decision-making, which builds trusts and sets projects up for success. You might be asking yourself, do you need another tool? Well, let me tell you, Join fits in seamlessly with your processes and your other tools. In fact, we're here to help those other tools. Regardless of your estimating system or your project management process, Join will be a valuable added resource without disrupting those other systems and your teams. So listen, put your spreadsheets on ice and leave your email behind for the decision-making platform for the built environment. Learn more at join.build. All right, we are back. So Allison Scott, Director, Customer Experience and Industry Advocacy at Autodesk. Now, a storied history. And you were kind of talking to Ariel when we were doing the intro just about the process of bringing new leadership in, and he's one of those new leaders coming in, and we're seeing so many of these bright, wonderful new leaders. But if we can step back in our world, and if it seems like light years, although Allison, we're not that, it hasn't been that long, let's be honest, but it feels like it's in, technology years. So it's like 7 years per year kind of thing.
That's right. I mean, it's exponential growth, right? So it's like it just builds upon itself. So it just, even though it's been 7 years, maybe it feels like 14.
So give everybody who's listening that doesn't know you a little bit of your history and how we got here, and then we're really going to dive into the amazing things that are going on right now.
Awesome. That sounds great. So I'll just give the high level here. I was in the architecture, engineering, and construction space for about 14 years. And, what's interesting about that is that I came up in a time when we were really at the beginning, early cusp of technology being infused in the way that we were working for design and construction. I've had an amazing collection of people that I've worked with across those industries, and got a chance to really see the early days of BIM becoming central to the way that we work, the iPad craze and the app craze, and how that at one point we were defining that as innovative, all the way to the burgeonings of drones and VR, AR, XR, and all of these different technologies beginning to come into our world. And I had a chance when I was working in construction to work with some really amazing people to really understand how are we going to investigate and integrate technology to make the way that we work better, to make our work more safe, and also to add more value to the way that we were delivering projects for our clients. At the same time, I really got to know the work that they were doing at Autodesk as a part of that when I was in construction. And I joined Autodesk about 5 years ago. And it's been an amazing, wild ride, massively has accelerated the work that I'm doing in this intersection between construction and technology. And I've been now a part of the team that has helped to build up the brand of Autodesk Construction Cloud and really think forward about how ACC is solving the needs of construction customers both today, but also preparing our industry for the future. So today in my role at Autodesk, I work in our customer success organization, specifically focused on the construction industry. I have a team that's focused on customer experience, which is really about putting the customer at the center of our work. So we manage a number of different avenues and spaces where customers can find like minds, learn from each other, and also hear from Autodesk about what we're working on, and also provide spaces to give us feedback. And then what part of my team does is that we take that feedback and that insight and we push it back through some governance models, and we synthesize it, we apply other insights to it, and we put it back into the business to say, hey, this is how our construction industry and our customers using our tools are really working with them. These are the things that they're struggling with. This is where we could improve, and let's put some actions around this so that we can deliver on making our products better for the industry. And being at that intersection where I can leverage my industry knowledge, and I can also leverage my technology translating skills. I think, Jeff, you were one of the first people I ever said, I was like, I think I'm a technology translator. I think I can speak both languages here. Like, I think, I apply that skill to really help our amazing Autodesk teams, better understand the needs of the construction industry. And then, along all of that, on top of it, like, there's just this little thing called advocacy where I like to also spend some time where I can supporting, our initiatives around the next generation of our workforce in construction, around safety, around mental health, around women in construction, DE&I. All of these people factors are the underpinning of our industry. And frankly, like, we can have the best technology in the world, but if we don't have people empowered to use it, then our industry is going to really continue to struggle. So continue to look for ways that we're advancing the message and supporting our people in the industry now into the future is really at the heart of what I do. So I think that's like a good 30,000 foot recap of my background and where I've come from and what I'm doing now.
Yeah, if you guys haven't connected with Allison on that one right now, I don't know how to guide you there to connect with her any more than I did. Because back in the day, I will tell you, you were one of the first that I could lean into in industry as a new person in the industry, but a technology focused person to articulate the where these things are overlapping. And I'm so, like, you made me time warp there. Was like, yeah, I remember at the time we were talking about getting iPads in hands and getting apps in people's hands. And quite frankly, you, Kelsey, and I standing on a raised platform recording at Autodesk. I just wrote down a note. I'm going to go see if I can find that old crew video that we did above that AU floor, and just the difference in that AU floor. And then, in looking at your title, a lot of people's titles are, to me, they don't mean a lot, right? But yours is experience and advocacy. Mm-hmm. And those are the two things that every great software needs at its core, at its DNA. And we need guides to do that. There's no one guide to do it, but, having that experience and having that transformational piece when nobody understood it. Right. We didn't understand any of this. There was no blueprint. There was no history. There was no pioneers before us, really. And I mean, that's not true. There was a few pioneers before us, but there was not a ton of real digital transformation pioneers. And then that combine that then with advocacy and understanding the perspective of industry itself. So it's great to see your trajectory and where you are today and how you're guiding those two teams and this industry through its process. And I think that's really cool to see there. So I want to jump you into from there. What were some of the, by the way, so awesome to see you on stage at AU again. If y'all didn't see it, there's a video recording out there, so you can go take a look at it. But what were some of your highlights before we get into sort of because I think that interview on stage was fantastic. But before we get into that, what were some of your highlights for AU? And then I'm going to turn it over to Ariel for you two to geek out, because you guys y'all got the backstage view. I took I took the 100,000 footer this year. Like it was not anything for any other reason other than I had a race coming up, so I had to take it a little easy. But y'all got deep and dirty, so I'm gonna let you guys geek out a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, for one, it was kind of special coming back to Vegas, right? We had been in Vegas for a very long time, and I as a customer of Autodesk, having come from industry, that's sort of like that was for my first foray into being an attendee of AU when I was working in industry. So it was very comforting, I think, for me and for a lot of people that are Autodesk customers as part of our larger community to feel very. It was kind of like a coming home, if you will. We knew where everything was. It was very familiar. It was very wonderful again to run into people in the hallways or down up and down on the escalators or at a bar afterwards. It's like every 5 steps I was running into somebody. It was so much easier to have those organic connections and on the floor as well. And I know I wasn't the only one that felt that way. It was just nice to have that moment of reconnection again. And that's one of the benefits of being sort of in a larger contained space and sort of the infrastructure of Vegas that allowed for that. But because we had that, I think it also enabled a lot more for me, like a lot more organic in the moment conversation based upon things that we were hearing out of classes, in the showroom floor, out of the forums, and the conversations like exploded all week. So Ariel, I don't know if that was your experience too, but like I kept coming back to people being like, oh yeah, did you see that thing on the floor or that thing on, like the Rivian story on the main stage? That was so cool. What are they using now? Like, I was like, it just kept cascading all week for me, which it ended up for me feeling like a very full week of really rich conversation. And it also felt very optimistic. Like, even though I know there's a lot of uncertainty and sort of, in some cases, some skepticism about the future of things like AI and the like, where's all this stuff going? Yeah, outside of sort of, those worries here and there, for the most part, like everybody I was talking to was incredibly optimistic about where Autodesk is going, where their businesses are going. And there's some nerves about sort of like the macroeconomic environment, but ultimately, like that week, I felt like we were on a high, and I got that energy from a lot of people. So, Ariel, I don't know what was your experience like. I mean, you were bouncing around too from a whole bunch of things.
My experience was very similar to yours. It's awesome to be able to talk to all these people that you've seen them on LinkedIn doing great things, or posting about their jobs. You see an article, and here you get the chance to actually talk to them and deep dive into what made their project good. What were some of the mistakes, how they figured it out, how they were able to keep thriving.
Yeah.
And the classes is something that I mean, I love the keynotes, don't get me wrong, but it's something that it's also a lot of show. It's very exciting. It's there to get you motivated, right? Now, that being said, you also got to think about, okay, how do I get a return of investment on this, attending this event? And I think the classes is what gets you there. Having over 400 classes, there's something that you'll find that you want or that you need in order to keep, growing your business or getting better. So for us, being part of a smaller, medium-sized construction management company, it's all about benchmarking ourselves and being able to see that what the big companies are doing is pretty much the same that we're doing. We're just at a different stage. Is so comforting because, again, it tells you, hey, you're doing it right. You're taking the right steps. It's just that digital transformation is going to take so much time, so much resources, and you just got to go with the like with that journey. It just takes time, and it was very comforting for me to see that from people that I respect and that I love interacting with. Jeff, I'm curious about your take from a different perspective. You were a lot on the expo. You were on different grounds. I want to know your thoughts about that.
Well, I mean, I got a couple of things. One, I gotta say, it was super cool for us at Join to see decision making take a center stage around the influence of data, et cetera. We've been, partners with Autodesk and just partners with the industry from that side on improving decision making. And we'd started talking about it 3 years ago. And it's so cool to see it at the tip of everybody's tongue today that now we understand it, right? We had this whole conversation and transformation from data driven and data automated. And it's like, no, those are automation is a workflow of information. Data drives us to insights, but decisions, we just have to be informed, right? And we have to consume it, and we need to consume it from our 3D spaces. We need to, in our design communities and our engineering communities and our contracting and trade contracting communities, so that we can put this, holy cow, think about the craziness of information into a place so we can do something with it, right? And that was cool for me to see consistently across the board, not only on the main stages, like you said, Ariel, but then also um, on the show floor.
Yeah.
Right. So many of the partnerships and partners that were there, not even just in our space, right? Like Rivian connecting its information to its decision making on its design and manufacturing facilities, et cetera. Just to see us all trading that. Oh man, that was I was and by the way, it was kind of nice to just kind of pop around that floor and get a look. That Rivian was cool. Then you had an F1 there. I mean, that was cool. It felt like home, Allison, again. And I love that you said that, but it felt like home with rails because there was a whole racetrack. Like, holy cow, we're a week away from F1. This is so cool.
Oh, dude, that was the other thing, right? It's like we were kind of surrounded by this other element happening around us with this like very like future forward, like literally speeding through the lightning speed kind of exposure of the F1 race being built around us, quite literally. That was a really interesting experience too. But I loved also the ties that that program and that race was happening, how it infused into our work, showing up at AU. There's really interesting connections happening in the manufacturing and the automotive space that are bleeding into the AEC space as well, from just the connections between like how do you take the design acumen and the decision-making frameworks that come into designing a race car like that, or designing, a fully electric vehicle from Rivian, into how do they apply that knowledge into building their factories and optimizing their factory floors, into how does that then relate to decision making to designing those spaces. So there's a lot of interesting sort of that notion of convergence that we've been talking about for years now. I think we're actually beginning to put some of that in practice, and it's not becoming this thing out there that's like, oh yeah, that's going to happen at some point. It actually is happening right now, and people are just leaning into it. And it's not this surprise anymore. It's actually becoming part of the way people work.
Yeah, I love that. And what was cool too is like the F1 thing also, I'm sure the people of Vegas didn't love all the impact it had, but there was a lot, and that's not going to be a one-time show. As far as I understand, I think it's like a 5-year contract with F1 and Las Vegas that they're going to be going back. So a lot of the structures and things that they built to kind of move the roadways around are going to consistently exist. So they weren't just temporary structures, they were permanent. And by the way, you want to be walking with somebody in our industry and have them go, well, yeah, how they did that, and look about and think about that and think about this. And I was like, oh, this is why this is such a great place. And then I totally forgot, but like, I'm a creature of habit. Everybody knows this. I go to Starbucks too much, but I was super happy to know where my favorite Starbucks at the entrance to the hall was. And and let's be honest, when I first started going there, the mobile app was not a thing. So now I could order and walk up and shake hands with people in the line. And like, I had a conversation off the cuff with Clay Starr from Esri. I met a bunch of your Autodesk folks that were, working and running through things. And we got to rap while we were waiting for our coffees and stuff to come up. And then, I had a moment out front of the Yard House and just said, wow, I'm here. So many things have happened in that restaurant, that bar. So the true where the true knowledge meets construction, right?
This is true. Yeah.
In the morning at Starbucks or the coffee house, and in the evening at the bar, these are the places things get done. And then I want to kind of pivot you into, there was this big announcement, and I find this one interesting, right? Like, we're marketing, we got to do some things, right? You got AI.
Yeah.
And Autodesk announced its AI. But to me, what was interesting about that is this is not a new thing for Autodesk, right? We've been talking about construction IQ for how long?
Just about 5 years, a little over 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this was to me less, we gotta jump on, right, and talk about AI, but this was like, wow, they were ahead,
Oh yeah,
right? They were on to something.
it was definitely a. What's interesting. It was more about it was a reminder and sort of reaffirming our place in this conversation. It's interesting because a couple weeks ago, I had an amazing opportunity to present to a group within the ABC chapter in Florida. I was part of their tech summit, and we talked about the future of artificial intelligence in construction. And I just remember having this great conversation with some folks in that group where I feel like I could never have had this conversation 5 years ago, where people are recognizing that the power of artificial intelligence and AI is less about the doom and gloom or the Terminator effect or the taking people's jobs, and more about like, whoa, wait a minute, we have a chance to influence the way that this technology can actually improve the way we work, keep people safe, get better value out of the work that we have, create career progressions for our staff that we've never had before. And just the tenor of that conversation has completely changed. And I think a lot of that is, there's two things that are happening to me in the industry. One is that things like OpenAI are making artificial intelligence more tangible and more accessible. People are becoming more aware of how it can positively affect our day-to-day, right? And obviously there's still a lot to be uncovered there. There's definitely some concerns people have that I think are fair. But so it's interesting because where Autodesk has been with artificial intelligence, we've been working on machine learning and artificial intelligence initiatives for a very long time. And in fact, we already have some embedded, native AI capabilities inside our existing products, whether it's within our M&E tools, as well as our construction tools, as well as our design tools with Forma, supporting, generative design for optimizing your design choices. Look, these things have been things we've been doing for a while. I think people are finally recognizing, and connecting the dots between what they're hearing in the media with companies like OpenAI or the initiatives that Microsoft has or Google to what Autodesk has been working on with a lot of intention and a lot of diligence and a lot of governance for many, many years. So for us, talking about Autodesk AI at AU was a pivotal moment to say, hey, look, we're doing this. We've been doing this. You're going to continue to see us invest in this space because we believe it's important. And we're going to do it with a lot of intention. And you're going to go on this journey with us. So that's been sort of the exciting thing for me. And I think, the feedback has been really strong, right? It's been, and I think, again, people are coming up now with like, okay, what does this mean now for the workforce of the future? How are you protecting my data? How are we thinking about, the collection of data in a more rigorous way so we improve the quality of our outputs?
It does take all of that time to get all that data, and it was a lot of forethought. But we can't just sit here and talk about 5 years ago. We got to get down into the weeds. And that's where, Ariel, you were on the ground. There were so many new releases, so many new things to talk about. So, what were some of those ground level things you heard about that were cool? And we'll let you two geek out on that because I know Allison can go 100,000 feet and can get right down onto the ground and run around with everybody else as well.
Yeah, Jeff. So I will say that the biggest thing is being able to sit down and talk with other leaders where they share that, hey, this is a journey, and part of it is digital literacy. Being able to get people to understand technology a little bit better and build a bond in a way that they can understand how these tools can enhance the job that they do, the quality of the products they create. That doesn't happen overnight. And sometimes it's simple things as, yes, we're talking about AI here, but what about, getting, using better data or storing better data? Why is it important to use a digital form as opposed to just like put it on a piece of paper? And when they see these tangible examples, they're like, oh, this is why we should be doing this. So that's, to me, it's the biggest takeaways. People are getting a better feel for why is it important to take a digital approach? Why is it important to leverage the cloud and different tools that are out there? to make sure that we're not going over those 40 hours that we talked about, right? Not burning out, but also improving the quality of the product that I am delivering to a client, to a colleague, to a friend, to whoever. So what do you think about that, Allison?
Well, I was going to say, I 100% agree with you on that. And Jeff, feel free if you wanted to ask a question there to jump in. I know that you were about to.
No, go for it.
Okay.
What I wanted to see is getting down that low, right? And starting to think about the digital transformation. So the AI and stuff, those are some of the larger, I would say, trends. What are some of the releases? What are some of the things
Yeah.
that Autodesk are doing right now
Absolutely.
that we heard about it, that I think folks listening can go do something with it, right? Like
100%.
they're still working on their AI strategies and those kinds of things, and they've got their eye on it. But like we got to play the game, right? We got to do projects now. We got to do things now. So what are some of those things?
Yeah, no, totally. So, and Ariel, please feel free to help me out here from the things that you're looking at too. So just on the AI front, right? We've talked about sort of like, we have this big strategy, but like literally today we have capabilities that are available that are helping people every day on active projects right now, including, Construction IQ, which is an embedded native capability inside of Autodesk Construction Cloud that really is all about creating less risk on construction sites. So it has the ability to analyze things like issues, observations, checklists, even subcontractor agreements, and really help teams identify a wide amount of risk factors that they're thinking about every day, from their ability to respond to RFIs, to the quality of issues, to whether or not you have a potential risk for a leak, based upon past metadata or historical benchmarks and working with different teams, or the quality of your work progress. So these types of tools are like literally helping people today. We also have something for people that might not be aware. We have auto specs now available in Autodesk Construction Cloud. Managing a spec book, managing all the data that goes into the spec process is really intense and very labor intensive, and it's prone to human error, right? So, using machine learning and artificial intelligence, we can now automate the process of a submittal log, and that is now available inside of ACC. And then probably one of my most favorite things that people might not be aware of is our symbol detection feature in Takeoff. So, being able to understand, different symbols that are in your plans, and being able to apply that to how you are, calculating in your estimation process is really, really important. And, instead of, manually going in and counting and trying to do some manual calculation with your own hand versus looking at the model. I mean, that process is also prone with errors. So now with our automatic symbol detection and Takeoff, users can actually have the tools automatically count all the symbols, and then Autodesk Takeoff can automatically find all those similar symbols and simplify that calculation process. Now, the estimator remains in control, but it's like having that automated assistant, that assistant workflow support to do some of that mundane work, and then you can review and edit as needed. I mean, it's like lightning fast, and it's pretty incredible to see what it can do to improve your pre-construction and estimation workflows. Now, on the new release side, some things that we announced in our industry forum that came from our head of R&D was our very popular updated model viewer, which is in beta right now. And it is absolutely incredible. Ariel, I know that you live in this space managing huge model data sets, and our current new model viewer is now testing at 5 times faster than traditional model viewers. And it's like the way it's able to scale and get people that information, especially people that are on the field, is it's pretty impressive. So, Ariel, I don't know if you have any reflections on when you were taking a look at that.
BIM was the talk of the town a couple of years ago, and it's not as popular as AI now, but just because it's part of day to day to a lot of people. So it's not as new. And what you have to think about that is that we're getting better every single time that we're working with models. And the amount of data that is added to these models is making them so difficult to look at them through like an iPad. And then coming in with this release, like updating the speed of like how fast you can look at the models, I think it's phenomenal. It's needed, because we want people on the job site, being able to take a look at their models, look for information they want, and if they don't have a viewer that can do it efficiently, then you lose them, right? So I think that's a big one.
100%.
And you got the people sharing a lot when that was mentioned. So way to go there.
And Jeff, I remember like years ago, sort of this notion of like democratizing BIM. Like that's what these kinds of tools do now today, right? We don't want people that we still need BIM experts. We still need folks like Ariel, to be manage that governance and manage the data. But we want to make sure that people are getting value out of all of Ariel's hard work, down into the field and down across the teams. So that's a big, exciting release that I know has been beginning a lot of good traction.
Yeah, there's some, and again, it's all about having a great theme that then you see in practice, right? So
Totally.
all I hear in symbol detection and automating that process and making people more accurate is speed, right? Speed to decision making. We don't take the human out of things. We augment them so they make better decisions, right? So that they're informed on what they do. And the model viewer does the same thing. If it's taking time to load and move the model around, what am I going to do? I'm going to default to what I have to do because look, on a job site, I don't have that kind of time. So 5 times faster, that's a huge access to the information. I'm not talking about, I can't wait 30 seconds for this thing to load. I'm saying I can iterate quicker, move around, have a discussion, facilitate a discussion in real time that can drive us to do something different. Like, okay, we know we have this problem. Do we need to shift work? Do we need to shift our laydown areas? Do we need to, where are we going to deploy crews? How are we going to do that? Okay, great. Hey, do we have a focus problem that we need to look at? And so those things work towards that, but you're not done with that. I want to see, I know there's some other stuff around, when we run into snags and problems that, from the people process that we can look at too, where we're trying again, put more information in one spot with, our ability to do work planning.
Yeah, so work planning is a space I think our industry is continuing to evolve right now. There's a lot of really interesting trends that are happening in this space around, in this work planning scheduling category. So we have a new capability called work planning. It's available in Autodesk Construction Cloud. It's inside of Autodesk Build in particular, and it's basically adding new functionality to our build scheduling tool. And what this allows is for project managers, for teams to push new plans and augment and make edits live when we're hitting major snags. So and we're doing so in the same environment that is connected to things like your relevant models, your sheets, and your existing schedules. So it's all about connecting that data and making it easier to make changes and be adaptable in the moment, especially when you consider about all the just the general snags and challenges that a lot of our industry are facing right now with supply chain issues and procurement issues. I was talking to my husband recently, who is an architect, and he's been on some major jobs, and he's done with a recent job, but man, they had this job where they were working, and getting something like a transformer, right? Like having to schedule out way longer than they ever expected before, or major HVAC equipment. There's just these lags right now that are creating major issues for projects that have been on the docket, and that are hard to account for those changes. So with tools like work planning, it's really putting more power into the hands of the teams and the project manager to make adjustments on the fly. And this isn't necessarily related to Autodesk right now, but I think what's interesting is that there is, just in the industry perspective, and Jeff, I'm curious about, and Ariel, maybe you too here, there is way more interest and trending towards lean construction methodologies than I've ever seen before. I feel like lean used to be sort of like a thing that a subset of specialists would focus on, but now I'm seeing it really bleed into core construction practices. So things like work planning we're trying to serve that up in a way that people who are leaning into lean can really put into practice in a very real and tactile way.
The lean revolution is on, and I think
massively.
It's been a combination of, one, there's been a wide range of lean processes and things being put in place at the company level, whether you're, a mechanical or an electrical, and you're really starting to look at fabrication, and you're starting to look at how you lean your fab shops down. There was this move to fabrication, and
Right.
it was like anything else. We moved into fabrication and we did it really badly because we didn't apply a good process to it. And then now we were seeing those folks come in and apply this really good process and these really good tools and techniques. And then everybody else looking at it, if you're a general contractor, you're looking at it and you're going, wait, well, like that stuff's really, really cool. And I bet you I could use some of it. And, oh, hey, wait, the tools are ready now for it. And let's be honest, there was some trial and error.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because lean manufacturing is not lean construction. They are
That's
two
right.
very different things. And so the art itself had to evolve. And so it's reached its evolution point where now I think it's super palatable and it's really starting to take place inside the industry itself and going to help us drive what we can offsite, right? We also have, that whole, labor issue, and talk about that. I mean, the lead time issues, Allison, 48 weeks to 52 weeks on switch gear.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You don't know which one it is, right? But if you have lean, capable trade contractors all of a sudden supporting you, your ability to switch out and understand and, go to what you guys were talking about before with specs. If you're capable of understanding, we copy and paste a lot of specs, and that hurts us in a lot of areas. If we're able to do that better, because, well, people don't copy and paste because they're lazy. They copy and paste because this is a lot of work. Right. So if we can make that better, and we can understand then too, though, how those spec decisions are driving means and methods decisions. Wow, now we're a really informed group that can do something with it. So that's where this is all starting to create a real snowball effect into the future. I'm just excited to hear you talk about it because, right, lean is about people. Lean is about process. Technology is just an accelerant. And that's what we want, right? So Ariel, I know you're chomping at the bit. There's a ton here.
Yeah, so talking about work plan, this is the one thing I like the most. When it comes to lean construction, a lot of our staff or people in the industry, they think about it. Oh, it's a new term. Now I need to learn something new, and it's adding more to their day-to-day activities. But when you think about what Allison said, it's already part of the same environment. It's all in the same common data environment, right? It's right there. And then when people see that work plan, they get curious about it, and they're like, "Oh, how can I use this?" So I don't have to explain to them like, "Hey, we're gonna be doing lean construction. We're gonna be doing pool planning." They just see it. Oh, I can do short-term planning here. And that is the key in order to add all these little features that you guys are adding that are, again, critical. We can talk about them as, building information modeling, but just the ability to click on a file and be able to look at it on a browser, that is a big difference. Being able to do pool planning right on the browser and they see the benefit, I think is the key. So again, integrating all these tools is what I think is moving the industry forward.
I think you're dead on. But I wish we could dive. I mean, we could have a whole nother episode where we come on and we go down the lean rabbit hole.
Oh my God.
But you had this little opportunity to showcase a customer on stage that blew me away. You think you know construction, you think you know a few things, and then people come across that are just like, wait, how big?
Right.
How much? Right, like Ariel, you're on projects, and when you heard the Dublin Airport Authority, or DAA, come on and talk about it, Allison, just talk a little bit about that interview. Talk a little bit about what DAA is doing with the tools and what they're actually building, because that blew my mind.
I mean, okay, so this is a great story, and it's been a multi-year journey for the Dublin Airport Authority. And there's actually a couple of great case studies and deep dives online, and I definitely encourage folks to go and actually watch their story from Manu's point of view, who's been driving this transformation over at DAA. So I mean, they've been on this multi-year journey for digital transformation for a number of years now, and really what Manu talks about is sort of what their end, what they're trying to do, how they're trying to achieve their end goal around literally building a digital representation of every single thing that is happening at the airport at any given time. Now, I think, we've been talking about this notion of digital twins for many, 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 many years now. The manufacturing space has been talking about it even before construction. And what was so striking about Manu's story at the DAA is that they are literally putting it into practice in vectors that I never would have expected to be possible, frankly, today. Everything down from like being able to know, exactly how many screws are inside of a component that is going inside of a baggage handling piece of equipment, right? Down to the flow of the tarmac. Out on the runways that are affecting the flow of traffic. I mean, these are the spaces and the scale at which Dublin Airport Authority is operating. And I think it's kind of interesting because airports in and of itself represent kind of mini cities. They are, microcosms of things that are happening in urban environments, but also things that are happening on construction sites. So Manu goes on to talk today about the future of digital transformation, but he grounds their experience in very real terms. So the keynote that he talked about was in particular to a baggage handling system. And one of the things that I didn't know before working with Manu on this story was that literally a baggage handling system is the heart of an airport. It is, so when you are making changes to a baggage handling system, it is literally like doing open heart surgery. There are so many factors that they have to consider. I mean, talk about an active job site or a live environment. There is nothing like what I saw in terms of Dublin Airport Authority's capabilities in trying to keep the flow of people, the flow of airline traffic, the flow of the retail environments, the security involved, while also making major changes to their baggage handling system. So, they've been on this journey for a while. They've actually started working with Autodesk in about 2018 using BIM 360. And they've quickly added more and more standards, more and more functionality, more and more collaboration with their stakeholders. And most recently, they've moved into using Autodesk Build as their core project management system and their common data environment, working with all of their core stakeholders, on these projects. And when I say stakeholders, I mean, more than 200 companies for over 150 construction projects that are happening with over 1,500 people that are accessing that technology at any given time. So again, like at this point, they've standardized on Autodesk Construction Cloud. They're really able to one of the terms that we use is weave this golden thread of data that runs from the napkin sketch, right, the design intent, all the way through construction, renovation, into the as-built and the operation stage. And this is really sort of the pinnacle of what we've been trying to achieve, I think, in the industry. And Dublin Airport is working towards that reality today.
Yeah, I just wanted people to hear those numbers and understand too,
Yeah.
because a lot of us are road warriors, right? And I don't always check bags. In fact, I very rarely check bags. However, because I move flights so much, not because I don't believe in them, but don't you just walk by and you're like, I just landed, I want my bag. And you're like, do you realize how freaking far that had to come?
Cow.
And the circulatory system that had to be created to do this, like, wow. And I loved, that he unabashedly, I mean, there's a lot of other things DAA could talk about. They could have talked about, their retail and their storefront and their people flow.
Yep.
And he was just like, no. Forget all that. We're going to pull back the veil.
Curtain.
We're going to the curtain, we're going to show you the circulatory system of what this is and let you understand that this is how it can be done, which I think for me, what opens up and hopefully, Ariel, for folks like you at Miller Davis and others, it's just like, you go, oh, that's impossible. No, it's not. They can do it. They can do it at that scale. It's not impossible, right? It just takes inventive thinking and coordination, great partners, and then you can do it. So, Ariel, I'm wondering, final thoughts, because I'm going to have to roll us on here, but maybe some final questions for Allison, or thoughts from you on just your experience at AU, and then what you're looking forward to in 2024 with all these great new tools.
Well, looking forward to motivational stories like that. When you said some people might think it's impossible, others may look at it as they did it, so we can do it as well, right? That's my motivation. So I just want to keep looking into those case studies, make sure that we can connect with the right people so that we can keep growing as a company, keep growing as an industry. And again, going into events like this, that's all about, networking, learning about new tools that are out there. But for me, again, it's all about being able to learn from what others are doing, take some notes, and let them make the mistakes, and then you avoid them later on.
I'd love to. Yes, I love that.
Spoken like a true contractor. I love it, Ariel.
So, Allison, give us a little highlight. What are you looking forward to in 2024 for our lovely industry that we, are both about to hopefully take a quiet break. This will actually be out after we've taken our break, but we're recording it before we go in. So what are you looking forward to in 2024?
I think, one of the things that stands out to me is just sort of this growing sentiment and willing to embrace this notion of collaboration more so than ever before. In fact, we had, part of the DAA story that was on the keynote represented that, where it wasn't just DAA and the owner story. We actually brought out one of their key partners, Colin Construction from Ireland, and David Lee, who is the director of construction operations over there, talked about his story about how, when we first embarked on this project with the DAA, they were a little hesitant. They weren't sure that this investment in technology and this investment in this really early, deep collaboration with their owner was, they were worried about it. And David goes on to talk about how as they stepped into the waters, they kind of took a leap of faith a little bit, and they collaborated really heavily with their owner, and they have been able to see some massive benefits from the use of technology, from the collaboration with their owner, and it's improving the project, but it's also improving the way that them as a business are thinking about their future. And for me, that's what I'm really excited about for next year, is that I think we've reached this liminal point where people recognize that you can't be a passive observer in our future for this industry. We have to have an active voice. And we have a chance right now to shape what the future of AI and construction looks like, what the future of improving decision-making looks like in this industry, and truly embracing the notion that what we build, how we build, should be as rewarding as what we build. And that is something that I'm really looking forward to propagating further this year.
Yeah, I think, and as this drops in early January, I am going to say, I think this is the year of deep collaboration with owners.
Totally.
I think we need it on the owner side. We need it on the contractor side. We need it on the trade contractor side. We are not going to be able to continue to reduce risk, increase efficiencies, and plan effectively if we can't all deeply collaborate with one another. And
100%.
Technology is a gateway to doing that. It's a path to doing it. But it's a transformation we've been seeing, but it's a cultural shift. And I think this is the year for that cultural shift. And then that's just going to elevate the tools like Autodesk and others that are here to really facilitate that process. So, and I love that. I think it should be rewarding to work in our industry, and it is rewarding, and this will be the year we advertise it even more. So thanks so much for sitting down, Allison. It's such an awesome, 360 degree of our careers and our time together to have
Totally.
you as an interview.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Jeff.
Well, we are going to jump into the news of the week. And we're actually going to have a new segment here because, well, I talked to the boss. Yeah, that's me. And our guest brought an article. And so, Allison, I'm going to let you just go ahead and kick this off. What article did you share with us, and what do you want to talk about here?
Awesome. So I shared something that I've been thinking a lot about, which is in this workforce category. And it's actually an article from HR Dive. They do a great job in surfacing up some really interesting trends in this people category. And the article says, Generation Z, how to attract, retain, and engage the fastest growing workforce generation, as well as this notion of Gen Z is set to outnumber baby boomers in the workforce in 2024. So I've been doing a lot of thinking in this space because as we think about the next generation coming into construction, there's a lot of things that I think our industry is going to have to come to terms with and maybe advance in the way that we've thinking about what it means to have a meaningful career. Some of the things that the article points out as they are, as our Gen Z brethren are setting to outnumber the baby boomers, is that the emerging workforce coming into this industry doesn't apply their worth to their production, right, or the next promotion. And there's a really strong drive towards having purpose and meaning in the work that they do. And I think all of us can kind of reflect a little bit on like, yeah, I feel purpose and meaning in what I do, but it's taken me time to get here. And I think that the Gen Z has less of an appetite for waiting for those moments and wants to really have deep connection to the work that they do, having impact, as well as being able to give them, a safe livelihood. So I think this is interesting because as construction companies and technology companies think about this emerging workforce, we're going to have to think about like, what does work-life integration really mean, and how do we give people space to find purpose and meaning in their work, and really getting to know this next generation in ways that maybe we haven't in the past. So it's a really interesting article. I know every construction company is challenged right now with labor issues. This is an issue that I will not dig into because we talk about it a lot. But again, like recognizing that the next generation is digitally native, they want meaning and purpose, they want to use technology, they want clarity from their managers, they want core direction so that they can be successful while also having space to do things that are outside of their normal work as well. So yeah, super interesting. Some thoughts there as we think about the future of the workforce into next year.
Yeah, Ariel, I'm interested in your feedback on this one because that's right up your alley.
Man, I'm just thinking about how leaders in a lot of companies are going to take this because of that generational difference is going to show. So I wonder if they're going to, they will have to in order to stay in business and be able to hire, but they will have to change. And it's probably not going to be something that they feel comfortable, right, from the get-go. So I'll be interested to see how that impacts the dynamics of the work environment.
And one myth I want to point out real quick, Jeff, that's in the article is that most people think that Gen Z are not in management yet. They are. They are already in management. In some cases, they're managing teams, they're managing projects, or they're managing components of projects. And that's, I think, a mind shift for a lot of us that maybe are elder millennials like me or baby boomers that are sort of looking after sort of larger parts of the businesses. So like we are scaling this next generation to be the managers I think that we've always wanted to be. And like, let's model that for them. Let's figure out what that looks like.
Yeah, I think you guys hit on a couple of things there that to me are super at the core of the future and succession planning, right? You must have succession planning. And it used to be just, I'm going to turn over a portion of my business to you, or you're going to grow in your career money wise, et cetera, that they just don't care about that as much anymore. And to be honest with you, I don't care about it as much anymore. And that's weird. I'm going to be honest, I'm a Gen Xer here. And I love this change
Yeah.
because I think we're sitting in one of the best industries that has purpose. Where else do you build and shape the experiences around you than the built environment, than what we do in the AEC community, right? You want to have an impact on carbon? Come help us reduce that carbon in our construction projects, in our material purchasing and selections. You want to have an impact on climate and energy? Then come help us develop better grids. Think
Yeah.
of new ways to be more efficient. If you want a more diverse and inclusive environment, come help us build it.
Yeah.
Because it gets built right here. So we have the purpose. If you're running a company, you're sitting on a golden opportunity to recruit with.
Yeah.
And technology, look around, people. 4,000 different technology solution providers for our industry, and big ones that care, that have purpose, that care about their people, that you can learn from and invest in and lean into. It's not like Autodesk is sitting out there saying, don't come help us, don't come talk to us. They're like, we're going to have a party in Vegas where you can tell us everything you want to tell us. And even the bad stuff, we're here for you. So I think that's something that I love, and that it's challenging. And get ready to be comfortable being uncomfortable. This generation's going to be different. The next generation's going to be different. We're all different because we're all raised at different times in our lives. So super powerful. And that's why I was like excited to bring it on. There's so much in there, and we'll share it out for everybody to take a read, and to probably on the other side yelling at us through their screens. It's okay.
Probably.
If I'm not pissing you off at some point, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do on the side of the microphone. So get mad at me and have fun. Thanks for bringing that one, Allison, and maybe setting the stage for others to do so in the future. Ariel, what do you got for us today?
Man, I got some last year's news, and by last year I mean 2023. So, E&R typically hosts a ceremony. This one's called the Global Best Project Awards. And, it's not only Christmas season, it's not only the end of the year, but it's also award season. So for this particular event, they received over 100 entries and selected 31 winning projects from 23 countries. They are highlighting projects that took on a lot of risk, had really amazing rewards, and obviously that they were able to overcome hurdles. So it's kind of interesting to take that perspective, not only from the US, but internationally. If you missed this event, you can actually watch it online by going to the globalbestprojects.com. It was hosted back in December 19th. So again, if you missed it, you can catch it. This is, to me,
take a look.
important to highlight that,
Jeff,
because, there's a lot of effort that goes out there and a lot of people just to get a project up and running. So it's always important to highlight the effort that they do and, put it out there. Again, use it as motivation for other folks out there. I mean, I know you guys, Allison, at Autodesk, that you guys do a lot of awards as well. And I think it's a big piece of the industry there.
I love it. I love celebrations of these big global projects. You take a look at some of the things that are going on across the world right now. It's amazing what we're seeing built. High-speed rail systems. We're seeing, if you want to look at the UAE for the most incredibly audacious.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to call them buildings. It's just, it seems like it's not a term for them, right? Like these are the type of things where we need to celebrate it, but we can also learn from it. And so Ariel, I love it. If you guys didn't see it, go check it out. You can easily get the link, and by the time we're live, it'll be live. So check it out. What else you got for us, Ariel?
So this one is the Department of Transportation is announcing $817 million in road safety grants. This is a big investment in local roadway safety. It's actually the biggest one in American history. Now, you may ask, why is this important? So, on the stat notice, over 43,000 people died in crashes in America last year. So the DOT with the White House announced that they are providing 385 grants that total that $817 million to address that issue. Some of them are going to be used for planning and demonstration projects. The other ones are going to be used for implementation. And the funds are open to be used based on what the communities need. Some of them could be used for separated bike lanes, other ones for demonstrating if a plastic bollard is going to work, or if using paint on the roads can help minimize those accidents. So looking forward to see how that pays off. Hopefully we can see some short-term solutions that, again, can minimize the amount of people that are being affected by, road safety.
Believe it or not, this one hits home for me because I'm a road warrior. I take off from my house all the time. I have a long drive down one of the most dangerous roads, I-70 here in the mountains of Colorado. And our Department of Transportation puts up every year the statistics, and I'm waiting for them to reset because it makes me a little depressed every time I get on. And they tell me how many people have died on the roads in the year, and they're trying to drive home that road safety is a huge issue. So by the time this releases, it will have reset to 0. Let's keep it low. But there's also, I'm a biker, I'm a runner. I love to see the cities. I was just in New York City in the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and the bike lanes that they've built there, and the running and park areas to get and separate people. And we can learn from Europe. And I know, Allison, where you're from, there's a lot of this as well. Like you're pretty passionate about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, Massachusetts is, and New England in general, actually, is struggling with some infrastructure issues, more specifically around bridges, especially in Massachusetts. There was actually a recent collapse of a bridge in Rhode Island. So like this is a space when it comes to infrastructure that America has really struggled. And I know that this grant that Ariel just mentioned is actually a part of the funding of the IIJA grants that are sort of the larger Infrastructure Act bill that was, we started talking about in 2021, I think, late 2020. And so this is really another layer of how important it is for our construction audiences to be really close to what's happening when it comes to government funding in this space, because there is so much work coming up to support the improvement of our infrastructure in America. And this is a great avenue to get involved, and a great avenue. I know that the government is also looking at spaces where they're looking for contractors to be heavily utilizing digital construction tools to help with efficiency as a part of these grants. So, I mean, this is a massive opportunity to improve the livelihood of our communities, to give jobs to people in construction, and to make America safer. So this is it's a great new grant that's being released.
Yeah, I love it. And my only recommendation to the U.S. Department of Transportation is next time just add the other 83 million to it, and so you can say $1 billion because we love $1 billion. I love this. It's like 817 million. Like you had to shave a little bit. I mean, we're talking about 817 million here, guys. We can't just say $1 billion. Come on now. But also, hey, to tie it back to what you brought us with the Gen Z, Allison, this is an opportunity of grants for people with design ideas for city infrastructures to make them safer and make them better for themselves. And again, what another great way to say, listen, not only do we have the opportunity, we have the money. And man, so much opportunity in our world comes without money, and this one comes with money. So great stuff, Ariel. Loving it, man. I'm going to take us down and get us way off the construction track for a second. And I could not avoid this one. I was listening to it with my son this morning, dropping him off at school, and it's from Investopedia, and it is the terms of the year. And if you don't know Investopedia, just think about the two things together. It's Wikipedia for investments. It's where people go and search and look for things. So what are their terms of the year? And the top of the list is American Dream. This term, if you don't know its origin, is originated in the depths of the Great Depression in 1931, coined by writer James Truslow Adams in his book Epic of America. And he described it as that dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, which opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. Now, why is this important? This is a literary term showing up in an investment search. But it also, some of the others were bank failures, artificial intelligence, certificate of deposit, inverted yield code, debt ceiling, treasury bill. NPR did a great job of bringing on a poet to say, what do you see in this? And what that poet saw in it was an unfortunate lean towards a fear of next year, that it's eliciting an emotion of a loss and some trepidation moving into next year. And, the American dream, they tied back to housing and the rising interest rates and the lowering of inventory on the market. And, maybe not seeing, and those Gen Zs maybe not seeing that future the way we've done before us with those kind of things. And bank failures, let's be honest, we saw Silicon Valley Bank crash, which is something you don't see every year. So there's, and then AI, Allison, you touched on it. There is an innate Terminator view and fear that people express around AI taking their jobs and removing our needs to exist. And I think those of us, the reason I bring this up, because you guys know I'm not a doom and gloom person. I always see opportunity where people see fear. I see opportunity for us to help, to lean in, to be a part of it. We learned this during COVID, that we were the backbone of the economy. We can do it again and we can lessen it. And there are great signs moving into 2024 already. We're seeing interest rates today that are below 7%. We're seeing hints that the Fed's going to lower interest rates 2 to 3 more times next year. Great opportunity. We're also seeing, some of those home builders that were sitting on the side, the multifamilies that were maybe a little trepidatious. Hey, with the cost of money going back down again a little bit, and with the demand going up, and mortgage, applications were at some of their highest recently. That's meaning they're going to jive back in and start building again. And again, it's a place to bring people to invest. So I'm kind of interested, Allison. This is an odd one for somebody like me to bring, but what are your thoughts on some of the terms and just some of the thoughts on it?
Dude, I mean, it's so interesting that American dream is one of the top search criteria that Investopedia is looking after. And I think it actually does, though, speak to the tenor or like the emotional barometer of where a lot of us are today, which is like wanting to be incredibly optimistic, but maybe right now dealing with some very real realities, right? I know that it's very difficult for a lot of people to be able to save money for their first home, or be able to go and be able to make those choices because of the interest rates, right? Or frankly being underpaid for the work that they might be doing, or having to balance multiple jobs, access to childcare, right? There's all these major vectors in which most Americans today are just like having to manage and deal with, that are frankly not fair. And I think as we move into an election year next year, that's going to be really interesting, as how people are redefining what they mean for an American dream for themselves. I think it's very apropos, directly related to the Gen Z article that we just talked about, right? Like redefining American dream to be associated to more of like, how am I applying meaning and purpose to my life, not just being defined by my ability to work. But at the same time, people got to eat. People want shelter. And so it's this really weird balance, I think, that we're all struggling with. And it's just super interesting. And I don't know, man, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in 2024 with this concept, and how we are able to redefine this notion of an American dream. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Ariel, I mean, what do you think?
Well, I'm definitely not going to get into politics, but I'm going to say that I love what you said about redefining the term American dream. A lot of people associate it with the, if you can buy things, right? And that's definitely not what we're aiming for. So looking forward to something that adds the word purpose there. So yeah, looking forward to that.
I'm with you. We don't talk politics, but we do like to talk election years, because election years are just such an interesting year for the way that things happen. They're pretty unbalanced. They're pretty unpredictable, which I kind of like. I mean, I think in that world, it's an opportunity to take risks. And hey, construction, you're risk takers. Yeah. We know you are. You're not gamblers, but you're risk takers. And a good friend of mine said that recently, and I kind of dig that statement. And that's why I brought my next article, because, oh no, the American dream's gone. Oh no, there's problems out there. And this one is, congratulations, Gilbane. The Ravens award a $430 million stadium upgrade project. So congratulations to Gilbane for winning this one. And the Ravens received a total of $600 million in funding. So just think about that for a second. Doom, gloom. I don't think the NFL and the Raiders and, well, now Gilbane are really thinking that the future's not going to bring them positivity and money and opportunity. They're not investing that kind of money if they're not positive on the way this is going to go. Will there be a bump? There's a bump in every road. But will we get on a journey? Absolutely. And I think, to me, that's what the Ravens and the NFL and builders are starting to show with money, that, hey, we may have taken a quick breath, but hey, we're going to keep investing. We're going to keep moving. And this wasn't the only one that moved. I think I saw recently that they're going to move. It's not great to DC, but they're going to move a couple of the teams from DC over to Virginia. So Virginia gets its first big, the deals aren't inked yet, but the handshakes are done, that they're going to get their first big facilities. And I think that was looking at like $750 million in build out for new team facilities. So this is amazing. Think about what we used to think, by the way, Allison, of what a job site and a mega project look like.
It did not include $430 million. What a mega job site. Yeah. I mean, I love this story because, one, I actually grew up in Baltimore, and I remember when the Ravens Stadium was first built in 1998. I was in high school, and when the Ravens won their first Super Bowl, actually they closed down the city, and there was a huge parade, and the big song at the time was "Who Let the Dogs Out." So it was a really big deal. We literally walked from my high school down to where the parade route was. I remember it was a huge deal. I love that the city is getting an infusion of investment like this. Baltimore has gone through a lot of transformation over the years, and having a refresh of the stadium is actually going to bring a lot of support to the community in Baltimore. It's going to bring jobs. It's going to bring more opportunities with more retail environments, bring more tourists to the space, infuse more funding into the city. So huge congratulations to Gilbane. I can only imagine how competitive this project was, and just super excited to see what's next for this project and for Gilbane and for the city of Baltimore.
That's awesome. Ariel, what are you thinking, man? These are just those small jobs out there for you, right?
Yeah, right. Man, that's good news. And, it's awesome when we have, projects like this that are definitely driving and trusting that the economy is going to get better. Looking forward to that, and hopefully be able to attend that stadium once it's done.
Yeah, you heard it here, Gilbane. If you got a spot in there, I know you get a spot in them suites. Maybe you can invite the crew up there to broadcast live or something. Just dropping it out there or something like that. You never know. Hey, listen, this has been an awesome way to just end my recordings for the year. So you guys know I'm going to take a little hiatus, end my recordings for the year. But also this is going to come out in 2024, and I'm super positive about what we're going to see. And I couldn't think of a better two people to sit down with and reflect on 2023 and pontificate on 2024 than you two. So Allison, thank you so much for showing up.
Thanks, Jeff. It's great to be here. Great to see you, Ariel.
Nice seeing you.
And Ariel, man, it is always fun to have you with me, man.
You'll see me around.
You're welcome. If you haven't seen him around, just go check out anything on Autodesk University. You'll see that guy and all the fun he had. I hope you get some rest, Ariel. You earned it. With that, I want to thank you for tuning in today to geek out for our interview with Allison Scott. To read all our news stories, learn more about our guests, and to listen to the show, visit thecontechcrew.com. This is the ConTech Crew signing out. Until next time, enjoy the ride and geek out.